Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Dominions 4, The Thrones of Ascension. Well, with 3 LPs now under my belt, I think it's time for a little bit of a change. So, this will mark a change in different ways. This will be the first time that I play a mod nation. I'm going to be using a mod called Pythium, the Second Empire, by a gentleman by the name of Burnsaber. He is a long-standing member of the Dominions community. He originally made this mod for Dominions 3, but he has since updated it and made it just a bit cooler for Dominions 4. Now, there are a lot of reasons why I am choosing this mod, but as this is the introductory episode and we're going to get everything planned out, I am not going to go into it. In future episodes, I will go into much more detail of why I am particularly interested in Byzantium, the Byzantine Empire, which is why I want to play this mod. So let's talk a little bit about theme, because in my previous LPs there have been kind of a pattern recently, and I'm not going to include with this, but I am going to include my little mini on Lemuria. With Lemuria, we had undead spectral legions whose whole purpose of existence was to eradicate all life on the planet. Then we moved to Shinuyama, which was summoning Japanese demons based on Japanese mythology, and having horrible Shura ghost generals with bane blades that wither flesh. And then we moved on to Ulm of the Late Age, where we were sacrificing thousands of innocent virgin women in order to use their blood in unholy rituals to summon demons, more westernized demons and devils. So we've been kind of taking a turn for the dark, I feel. We've been skulking around in the shadows, and I feel that now it is time for us to rise up and go back into the light and play a nation of honor and justice and get some redemption. So that is what this LP is going to be about. It's going to be about redemption and being a good nation, as opposed to where we've been previously. Another big change is that, as you'll recall from my previous LPs, I place a lot of emphasis on the Pretender. The story is about the Pretender, whether it be Ursula, Katarina von Ulm, or Date Masamune, and I'm not going to do that this time. This time the focus is going to be on the nation itself, and you'll see how I wrap that into the Pretender when I finally get to the Pretender. But let's set up this game. I'm going to be continuing to use the 3 mods that I used in the previous game: Worthy Heroes, Mobility, and AI No Recruit. And of course I'll be adding my nation, Pythium, the Second Empire. Now I'm keeping Worthy Heroes, even though it's not compatible. It's not incompatible, but there is no worthy hero for this mod nation. It has the heroes that come with it. But I figure it's more fun playing to see these exceptional worthy heroes of other nations, so our enemies. So I'm keeping it. The next choice I have to make is map. So what I've decided to go with is an old map that's been all the way since Dominions 3, and that's Parganos. And it has perfect 116 land, and it's a beautiful map with nice mellow colors. I have 2 choices, either the traditional map or the wraparound. I was thinking it'd be neat to do traditional this time around, just to give myself a bit more breathing room. You know, I might be able to go up against an edge and it won't have so many provinces to defend. But then I thought, you know what, that's kind of cheap, and so we're going to go with what we're used to, which is wraparound. I may choose to play a non-wraparound map someday, but for right now, this is the way it is. As you can see, this map is very light and mellow. It was created by a gentleman named Jason Lutz, who was very active in Dominions 3. I'm not sure if he's still around in Dominions 4. I haven't seen anything new by him in a while. The wraparound version was made by Simon Vincent, and Gandalf Parker, who was very active in the Desura forums, I guess originally created the random landscape, to which Jason Lutz added graphical embellishment. Finally, it was modified by Edie and Cal Jamaha for Dominions 4. I don't know who Cal Jamaha is, but Edie is the moderator of the Desura forums, and he's very active in the community. And we're going to name the game after my nation. Okay, and it's in the Middle Ages. Now, I'm going to play this as a theme. Okay, so first of all, we talked about how it's going to be about doing good and redemption from all the dark nations we played at this point, but we're also going to go a bit further. We're going to have a whole little scenario worked out. Now, as you recall from the lore, and if you don't, let me summarize. In the early age, there is Urmor, and Urmor is a representation of the Roman Republic. And I don't know if this is exactly the way the lore is, but the way I interpret it is Urmor is the winner of the early age. They're the ones who worship the Pantocrator. They're the ones who conquer the world. But then, when the early age turns into the Middle Age, Urmor, based on bad influence from Cetis, who they conquered, starts experimenting with death magic, and everything falls apart, and Urmor becomes this horrible, undead wasteland. And the remaining human portion of Urmor splits up into many different nations that are each kind of based on a historical nation. Now, of course, we have Pythium, and Pythium is based on Byzantium, the Eastern Roman Empire. Then you also have Urmor itself, the fallen Ashen Empire. You have Scalaria, which is basically the old Urmor, but the human portion of it, who are trying desperately to control the undead. So while Urmor Ashen Empire is all undead all the time, even their dominion kills people and causes undead to rise, Scalaria is still a human nation that recruits human troops and human mages. They simply just summon a lot of undead and use them in battle. And also that broke out from Urmor was Marignan. Marignan is, I believe, the Middle Age version of Early Age Marverni, which is based on the Gauls of what is now France. Although Marignan is a combination of that and Spain, kind of the Spanish Inquisition, and especially in the late age where they start having sailing and colonization with admirals and such. And then I also believe that Ulm descended from Urmor as like the Germanic tribes that the Romans conquered, and now they're off on their own. And you can also feel that in the fact that the Ulm people don't believe in magic. They're very much against magic, and I believe that's a reaction to the tragedy that befell Urmor based on their overuse of magic. So this is like basically Urmor and all of Urmor's stepchildren, the nations that kind of developed as a result of Urmor. Also, to keep things kind of fun, I'm going to throw in two random kind of nations. One I'm going to throw in is Ashdod, because I would like you guys to see a neat giant nation that has some really cool and interesting ideas about it. It is based on, I believe, mythology of the Holy Land. Maybe not specifically Jewish mythology, but around that area in the Middle East. And that's thematic to what we're doing here, because for a long period of its early history, the Byzantine Empire did control the Holy Land, North Africa, and Egypt in that region. So, yeah, we just say that they're neighbors. And then, because there are some water provinces, I think it'd be neat to have an underwater province, or underwater nation. We've already seen Atlantis in my Shinuyama Let's Play. Relay, I don't think really fits the theme of what we're going for here. It doesn't fit the mythology. Pelagia, from what I hear, kind of is a underdeveloped nation and kind of sucks. So we're going to go with Oceania, because not only are they a good water nation, but they do have recruitable troops that can go on land. Now I'm going to do things a little differently than what you're used to. I'm going to go with the Disciple game. I've decided that Marignan and I are going to be buddies. They are going to be my disciple. And the reason why is because we're both splinter empires from Urmor. We're both ostensibly good empires. We both can summon angels, and we both have fire and astral magic as a big thing, and we both have priests as a big thing. We're both powers big and priests. So we have a lot of not combinations, but things in common. And so I think it'd be neat. And it's also, for your money, it's like 2 LPs in one, because not only can we see my battles, we can see their battles and their units and their spells. And so that'll be fun for us, I believe. But also, because I have Urmor in here, and I'm not going to let them be mighty. They're going to be difficult, but even so, I need someone getting my back who's also going to be helping me defeat these guys, because they have that dominion, as I say, that kills population, and it makes conquering them just so tedious, because you're going into lands that have no population and no supply, and that's just no fun. I was considering making Urmor the mighty AI and the big villain of this LP, but I just think that would make them too powerful and they would overrun everybody. So instead, I'm going to make Scalaria the mighty AI. And then Ulm, Ashdod, and Oceania will all be difficult. So the way this looks is we'll have a little bit of fun fighting Ermor, but the big villain and the big problem is going to be Scalaria. That's how I see it. Hopefully it'll work out that way. Okay, the Empire of Pythium is a splinter empire of the great Empire of Ermor. As dark arts were practiced in the heart of the empire, the stars warned the Theurgs of Pythia to flee the impending doom. However, as Ermor crumbled, the provinces of Pythium rebelled and became independent. Emperors of Pythium could not reclaim the rebelling lands, and the power of the Second Empire diminished. The Pythian army is based on the old legionnaire army of Ermor, with some modifications. During the rebellions, barbarians from distant lands tried to conquer the capital, but were beaten back by mercenaries hired by the emperor. With time, these mercenaries have become an integral part of the Pythian military. Theurgs are also supporters of science, and the famous alchemists of Pythium have recently invented new weapons to fight the legions of the fallen empire. The most recent emperor installed a ban on reverence of sacred icons, blaming the misfortune of the empire on this practice. And then it goes on to say the emperor's decree, but I think they ran out of space here. I'm sure that Burnsaber, who is the creator of this mod, intended to write more lore, but just it didn't have enough room to do so. So what makes these guys cool? Well, they have Varangian Guard mercenaries, which are axe-wielding heavy infantry, which are a lot of fun. They have Pyrotes, which are basically Greek fire shooting units, which cause an area of effect fire attack that's pretty chaotic and a lot of fun. And they're definitely known as being a communion nation. And this is another reason why I'm playing them, because it's a challenge for me. I'm not very good at communions, and this is a way for me to get better and kind of show off that portion of the game, which I really didn't do much in Ulm, even though that was something that could have been done. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this. Also, worth noting that there is no way to improve your priest power, with the exception of these 3 individual artifacts. They are unique magical items which each increase your priest power by 1. You could also name a prophet, but remember now we're playing a disciple game, and in a disciple game the disciple is the prophet, so we cannot name a prophet. So the only other way to improve holy power is to have communions led by your priests. And the reason why you want to do that, and this nation is specifically designed for that, is because Burnsaber threw in some awesome high-level spells that require ridiculously high levels of priest power, like 6 holy, which in the unmodded normal game is impossible, I believe, to even get to. And these are amazing spells that have far-reaching consequences on the battlefield, and they have to be researched. They're very far up the tree, and I'll show them when we get to that part of the game. So we need to pick our god, and because we're playing a disciple game, our choice of gods is rather limited, and the background here is just wigging out. Let me see if I can fix that. Well, okay. I don't know if I did or not, but either way, you don't get all the pretender choices if you're playing a disciple game. You only get half of them. I believe the way it works is you only get the pretenders that start with Holy 3 or above, or I should say, well, yeah, I guess that's the way it goes, yeah. Dominion 3. Only the pretenders start with Dominion 3 as above. As you see, starts with 3. So this nation has 2 pretenders that were made just for it. There was the True Emperor, who is an undead unit, and he is not allowed because he is less than 3 starting Dominion. So for this particular game, he's not allowed, but I just want to mention him. But there's also this unit right here, which Burnsaber made specifically for this mod. It is, and I apologize if I'm not going to pronounce it correctly, but it's the Akero Pieta. And it is the most sacred relics of Pythium are said to be of divine origin and not made by hand. The White Shroud is the most sacred of these relics. Now, if you know the lore, in early age Ermor, their whole religion is based upon the prophet in the White Shroud who just shows up one day. So the White Shroud is the most sacred of these relics, and it was held in a golden box at the heart of the empire. The previous emperor of Pythium installed a ban on religious icons that I'm not sure if this was meant to be decapitated, or if this really is a word that means remove the face, but decipated the face of the Savior. Many icons were destroyed, and as the iconoclasm progressed, the iconoclasts grew more bold. This is a true historic event, by the way. There really were iconoclasts in medieval Byzantine Empire. Many icons were destroyed, and as the iconoclasm progressed, the iconoclasts grew more bold. Finally, they tried destroying the white shroud, as it had the face of the Savior. But a miracle occurred as they approached the box. A sacred statue in the temple suddenly burst to life and took the box out of their reach. The iconoclasts tried to destroy the statue, but it burst in sacred flames, burning the attackers to ash. The iconoclasm ended that day, and the divine spirit inhabiting the statue chose to claim godhood. The Acheropieta is known to perform miracles of healing. So why this pretender? Well, of course, it's made specifically for this mod, so I think that's great too. I want to give it exposure. But also it heals afflictions, which is fantastic, and it opens us up to nature magic, which this nation does not have a very good chance of having. I believe they have one unit who is a heretic that has a chance at 1 nature, so we're going to get more of that. And there's other ways it synergizes, and I will show you. It's an immobile pretender, by the way. As I mentioned, this game is not going to be about the pretender. The way I'm playing it is the pretender, in this case the shroud, which is inside the golden box, represents the will and the spirit of the people of Pythium. So it's a representation of the nation itself. Is not in and of itself a creature, a god that has agency and wants to do things. It's just simply a manifestation of the goodness inherent in the people of Pythium. So that's how I'm going to be playing that. Of course, right off the bat, it's going to be imprisoned, because I need good scales, and it's immobile, and it's more of a late game pretender anyway, and I'll show you why. I'm going to build it so we can get some of the late game angel summons, especially the archangels that are made specifically for this mod. They have specific names, and they're really cool. But I also have a sacred unit called the Battle Vestals, and I want to go into that because in previous LPs, well, in the previous LP of Ulm, I utilized female versions for blood sacrifice, thousands of them. And so I thought I'd go completely opposite in this game and use female virgins as mighty sacred warriors. And that's who they are with this nation. They are the Vestal Virgins, the Battle Vestals, and they are really impressive troops, especially with the right bless. And I can't afford to give them an amazing bless, but I am going to go up to 6 fire to give attack skill +3, and 6 nature to give hit points +5. They start with 9, so that'll give them 14. And I really, for a time, was debating whether or not I should go all the way up to Astral 9 and give them Twist Fate, which negates the first attack against them, which is quite useful because they have no protection whatsoever. But I finally said, you know what, that's too expensive, and I'll be able to mass them, and we can finally get a mage in there and up their protection, so I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to lower it down. I believe it was 7. We'll see, which doesn't do much for me from a blast perspective, but it helps me with my late game summons. The next thing I wanted to do is increase Dominion high so that I can summon a lot of them, and I need a little bit of order. Production, I'm going to go with Heat 1 in this game because you're so used to seeing me play on snow that I think it'd just be nice to be able to see green grass once in a while, so that's what we're going to get. And Growth 1. I would love to have luck, but it's not something that's necessary, and we have such good researchers that I don't need magic. So that's what I think I'm going to do. A relatively strong Dominion, 1 to fight off Ermor's hostile Dominion if we should encounter it, but also so we can recruit a number of sacred units. And then good enough scales that I can invest in our resource and gold expensive troops and mages and commanders with a minor but good bless and good late game potential for the mass summoning spells. So that's how we're going to end up. Now, the name of my god. I thought about this for a while, and I did a little bit of research. Again, it's not about the god, it's about what the god represents. So I found the Greek word for righteousness, justness, and that word is, well, I'm going to write it out first, and then I will try to pronounce it. Okay, so it's dikaiosune, and it basically, like I said, means righteousness or justness or goodness in the eyes of God. And it's a word that's used a lot in Greek versions of the Bible, and I think it's just an awesome word to use for this nation because it is a nation based on a Greek empire who this word was probably used quite a bit in the conclaves and religious halls of the real Byzantine Empire. And again, it's a word that represents the kind of spiritual center of the people of this nation rather than necessarily an individual god. As far as my settings, they're going to stay the same as typical, except I'm going to bump up the magic sites as I usually do. Score graphs enabled, 15 Hall of Fame. Easy research, because I want to again show you the exciting end game stuff, especially the special stuff for this mod. Where is it? There we go. Renaming will be allowed. I will do unclustered start positions. That basically means that you can either have the two allied nations start really close to each other or across the world from each other, and I think having them across the world is going to be more fun. And finally, Thrones of Ascension. This is a bigger map, more nations, so I'm thinking we should have a bit more thrones. I decided on 1 level 3, 3 level 2s, and that'd be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 6 level 1s, which will give us 15 total points, of which 8 will be required for victory. I think this is a good setup because you can't just easily squeeze victory out of just getting a level 3. You would need a level 3 and all 3 level 2s to win, which is still 4 thrones and quite difficult. So, and the way they're spread out, I'm sure that won't even be possible. So I think this is a good way to make sure the game doesn't go too long, but still make it challenging enough. Now, I will go into the nation itself in the next episode and my reasons and my personal history with the Byzantine Empire and why I'm really excited about playing this nation in this game. Also, just like my first episode of the Ulm campaign, I would really appreciate it if you click the thumbs up and leave me a like. My goal for Ulm was 50, and I appreciate all of you who helped me achieve that. My goal for this one, since I have a larger subscriber base now, is 75. I would very much like to get 75 or more likes. My reasoning for this is, first of all, to know that you're following and that you're interested and excited about what I'm doing, but also it'll help my first episodes move up a little bit in the search rankings, so that I'd rather people find me from my first episodes rather than some random episode in the middle. So if you could do that for me, and that's not an inconvenience for you, I'd very much appreciate it. The next thing is, if you would like to have a commander named after you, just like in my previous LP, you would please do so in the comment section of this episode and this episode only. I will reiterate this in the text. It just helps me keep track of it. And I'm going to do that a little differently with this episode, or this LP. In the last LP, I had a lot of armies that had 5 or 6 or 7 people with names, and I feel like they kind of got lost in the shuffle. And I don't want to do that in this one. I want everybody who I name to have some use and to have some moment where they can take center stage. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to limit it to 1 or at most 2 named people per army, usually the commander, though this commander could potentially be a mage or a summon creature, it doesn't really matter, but it's going to be a commander, and I'm going to refer to it as their army, doing their thing. So I'm not going to have, like I did with Ulm, like a one commander and a bunch of black priests in one army, because you kind of lose track of all of them. What this means, of course, though, is I'll have less people with names running around at any given time. So the way I'm going to make up for that is I'm going to institute a strict dead is dead policy. So if someone dies in this game, they are gone. They are fallen heroes who will be remembered and honored, but they are not coming back. And that way I can go through the names and hopefully get to everybody who wants to be named, while still making sure that nobody gets, again, lost in the shuffle. So that's my plan. I hope that you will enjoy this LP. I'm exploring some new things like communions, as I said, that I am not particularly good at, so I have some room for growth, but we're also going to see some really awesome angels and really awesome battlefield spells, and there's even some unique items that were made just for this mod that I'm excited about as well. So we are now climbing out of the shadows, we're approaching the light, we're going to be a good nation fighting against evil, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So next episode, we'll get started. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.